everyone, it's Nikki here. I just wanted to insert a little disclaimer / apology here. If you don't know, my family and I have been moving house recently, and we tried to prepare for this by pre-recording episodes, but unfortunately I did not have the time to edit them, therefore resulting in an unexpected break in our uploads, which I sincerely apologize for. But we should be back on track now. And hopefully the next time something like this happens, we'll be more prepared. Maybe. This is a learning process, and we thank you all for your patience with us and listening to us. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy, I would say, this lighthearted episode, but we're not really in the business of lightheartedness. Either way, on to the episode. Hello, I'm Nikki.
And I'm Jess.
She's the traumatized.
And she's the abandoned.
And
welcome to our podcast.
Where we talk about true crime, spooky things, and everything in between.
And today, we're going to be talking about some abandoned places.
Or thing.
Which I'm super... Right. Yeah, abandoned things. Sort of abandoned. Crazy shit went down, and now they're kind of abandoned. Yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm excited. How was your week?
Good. We got some stuff moved over to the new house. Super excited. But our couch, we ordered a new couch for our living room, is not gonna even ship until August.
That is so obnoxious.
Like, I'm so annoyed.
That's so obnoxious. I mean, to be fair, you're probably going to be moving most of July, right? So, like, hopefully it'll fly by and it'll be here soon.
Obviously, we know what's been going on with you, but we won't dive into it too deep.
I'm sick.
Yep, that's it.
I'm sick, and so if you hear my voice being weird, that's why. Sucks. Anyways,
fun fact of the day.
Yeah, so if I stumble on words or if I start having a lisp, I'm sick. That's why. So, fun fact of the day. Human teeth are the only part of the body that cannot heal themselves.
Fact. That's why we spend thousands of dollars fixing them now.
Yep. And, like, I think I was talking to my husband about this too. Like, why can't we just be like sharks? Like, you lose your child teeth, baby teeth, like, by the time you're 10 or 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to use the rest of your life. You have to, like, deal with your adult teeth. Like, it sucks. Stupid. Go on over. Just be like sharks and just keep spawning them, you know?
Which is kind of funny because today my topic is talking about a shark.
Oh! Haha! Did not mean to do that, but here we are.
Wait, I know what you're thinking. How can a shark be abandoned?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Have you ever heard of Rosie the Shark?
I haven't, but I'm so intrigued.
In 1997 or 98, the year is kind of blurry, in South Australian waters, a 2-ton great white shark got caught in a tuna fishing net. So the family that caught her was the Lucan family.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, there was no way to get her out of the net safely. And so they had to put her down.
Oh, that was a really quick story, Skeeter.
Meet Rosie.
Next
Rosie
week on. Yeah. Damn, all right. You can fluff mine up a little bit.
Yours is gonna have to take 50 minutes because that was 10
yeah, okay.
minutes.
Oh, we'll figure it out. No.
But that's not where Rosie's story ends. For a while, the Lucan family just had her frozen in a freezer until citizens and animal parks were kind of intrigued to, like, see her. They wanted to look at her.
Mm-hmm.
And many organizations were interested in receiving Rosie for, like, scientific purposes.
Hold on. Are we talking about a full shark or, like, chopped up shark?
A great white shark.
A full
2-ton great white shark frozen in a freezer. Don't ask me how big the freezer is. To be fair, this family did tuna fishing for a living.
Okay, so they probably had like a walk-in freezer situation.
Yeah, they probably have like an industrial size.
When you first said it, I assumed they chopped her up. And so imagine my confusion when I'm like, they want to come visit. I'm like, oh, why? But
like, no, they have a full 2-ton great white shark in their freezer.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm here.
And many organizations were interested in receiving her for scientific purposes, for studying and whatnot. Seal Rock's Life Center in Summerlands, Victoria, Australia, was the first to make an offer to the family to buy the shark, but they backed out.
Okay.
Which led Wildlife Wonderland, located in Bass, Victoria, Australia, to purchase Rosie for an unknown amount.
Okay. Weird. All right. It's not okay. I'm with you. I have so many questions.
Wildlife Wonderland was part of a big amusement park. So think of like Orlando, Disney World, and SeaWorld separately, right?
Okay.
But they're in the same location. Pretty much.
Okay. I'm with you.
That's what this was. So Wildlife Wonderland was just like a part of a bigger theme park.
Gotcha. But like, okay. I'm with you.
So a frozen Rosie was loaded into a refrigerated truck to make the 900-mile journey from South Australia to Bass. But on her way there, the truck was intercepted by the Australian government.
What? Why? What is... Okay.
Well, apparently a female swimmer had recently disappeared and they thought Rosie was the culprit.
Okay.
So they conducted an autopsy and revealed that Rosie was indeed innocent of the crime and released back to Wildlife Wonderland.
Okay. Glad I'm medicated for this. Continue.
So Rosie was returned to the Wildlife Wonderland where she was filled with dacron. And dacron is a material intended to help the body keep its shape by acting as a substitute for the shark's natural tissue. So basically like a taxidermy type thing.
Kind of like embalming?
Not really embalming. It's basically material to keep its shape. So like stuffing.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Okay. Yeah.
And then Rosie was placed in a giant custom-built tank full of formaldehyde where she was on display for almost 15 years.
Okay.
So
I'm with you.
So you could go to the Wildlife Wonderland Park and see Rosie in her giant tank in the middle of like the aquarium area or wherever they had her. And she lived there happily for about 15 years.
Okay.
Until in 2012, Wildlife Wonderland was closed down due to allegations of operating without proper licensing.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the whole park was shut down at this point. So it wasn't just like the animal side without licensing. I think it was like the whole park, if it's my understanding. The wildlife park was ordered to surrender all live animals to either RSPCA Australia or the Department of Sustainability and Environment Victoria.
So which one does the dead shark go to? Because it's not gonna go to a rescue society. It's too late for that. Like,
as Rosie was not a live animal, though, she was abandoned with the park.
Oh, poor Rosie. I didn't want that for her.
We are talking about abandoned things here.
I know. Trigger warning.
Trigger warning. It's a dead shark.
I mean, it's abandoned now. No, I feel bad for it. Everything up to this point, I didn't feel bad for it. But this is the line.
This is the line. So that was just to refresh your memory from like 2 seconds ago. That was in 2012.
Okay.
In 2018, though, an urban explorer, Luke McPherson, found
Okay.
Rosie. He was actually a YouTuber who just goes to abandoned places and records there.
Nice. Okay.
He filmed and shared his visit to the abandoned park on YouTube. And within months, the video became viral, which in turn
Mhm.
attracted locals to trespass and visit Rosie. I think when I researched this last week, I checked the video and it was at 17 million views total.
Damn. All right.
I think at the time when it went viral, it got up to like 11 million views, I think.
Wow. Okay.
Or at the time when one of the articles was written, I think that's what it was at. So, but
Mhm.
today's the video's at 17 million.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be one more after this video because I'm gonna look at it.
Some of the visitors were respectful of Rosie, but others not so much.
Humanity sucks.
Yeah. Many visitors actually vandalized Rosie and her tank. The tank was graffitied and damaged, at one point being hit with a hammer. So like it's long, obviously, and short on the ends. One of the short ends was hit with a hammer and it had like shattered. It's like a super, like I think it's double walled though glass,
Okay, that
so
makes
it was
sense.
just like the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And because of like all the years that it was left unattended, the tank was beginning to not only leak, but somebody had also pried the roof off of the tank. So formaldehyde is just like everywhere in the air. Like just
Delicious. That's a smell. That's a smell you'll never forget. You did biology
mm-hmm.
with the frogs. You walk anywhere near that room.
Imagine like when you're in biology, that smell from just like the 5-gallon buckets. This is a
no,
like a giant tank filled with formaldehyde.
no.
So this would cause future visitors to be in danger of inhaling the fumes, which can cause poisoning if they inhale enough. Not only that, but because the lid was removed, vandals then threw various objects inside the tank, even including a TV.
Oh, what? Why?
They would just throw trash, chairs, TV, like anything that they would find, they would throw into her tank.
That's just insane. Okay.
With the constant vandalism and possible danger of visiting Rosie, the landlord publicly considered destroying the animal and the tank.
Mm-hmm.
But Rosie fans were not happy about that. And they started a campaign on social media to save Rosie the Shark.
Okay. Who's gonna keep her? Okay. You know what? Okay, it's fine. Keep going.
Man named Tom.
Oh, okay.
Tom Capitani?
Mm-hmm.
Owner of the Crystal World and Prehistoric Journeys Exhibit Center,
Okay.
saw the campaigns and reached out to the landlord. And he was told that he could have Rosie for free as long as he covered the removal and transport costs.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, in a massive operation, 15,000 liters of carcinogenic formaldehyde was removed, and a crane hoisted her 10-ton tank onto a truck, which took Rosie 60 kilometers to her new home at Crystal World.
Woohoo! Okay.
After initially washing out her tank with water, neutralizing the water with baking soda so it doesn't react with the formaldehyde, Tom and his team opted to preserve Rosie in glycerin, a colorless, odorless, sweet, non-toxic liquid, rather than formaldehyde again. But the restoration is a slow process and an expensive one. He thinks it's gonna cost about $60,000 more to fill the tank. They have a GoFundMe page, by the way, to help Rosie's restoration.
Okay.
Which, like, her tank was fully repaired and is now being slowly filled with glycerin. So as of right now, the glycerin comes up to like her fin. So like her fin is the only thing exposed right now, and how they keep it preserved is they do daily injections of the glycerin so it doesn't dry up.
Okay.
And COVID obviously had a really big impact on slowing her restoration as well. But Rosie is safe, and she waits for the rest of her restoration to complete and for an expansion to be complete so that it will become her permanent home. So they're literally building her own building and stuff.
How big was this shark?
2 tons.
It's a big shark. Because I'm thinking, I'm like, listen, I'm sure it's a cool shark. This is a lot of work. But I mean, I guess if it's a really big shark, it would be worth it. Sort of. Maybe. I just think she needs to go to bed forever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
But that's the story of Rosie the Shark.
Very cool. Yeah, I've never heard of Rosie. I definitely want to watch that video though. I'm doing Action Park, which is it's not in existence today.
Okay.
A portion of it was bought and was like redone, but there's still like parts of the park that like, and it was closed for a very good reason, and we're going to go into that.
Oh dear.
So, Action Park, and there is also an HBO documentary on it, called Class Action Park. Would recommend. So, Action Park was an amusement and water park that was located in Vernon Township in New Jersey, which is only like an hour outside of New York City. So, a super brief history of the park. It was mainly a water-based attractions, and it originally opened in 1978. The idea of creating Action Park came to the owner Eugene Mulvihill, and his company
Mulvihill.
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 Mulvihill. Mulvihill.
Interesting name.
And his company, Great American Recreation, when they were trying to figure out what or how to make extra money during the summer, they currently owned Vernon Valley and Great George ski resorts that were kind of like near each other. So obviously, like, well, for any people, I live in the Northeast, so we have really great winters, but then once it's spring, summer, and fall, it's not really cold enough to like keep the snow. So it was like, what are we gonna do during the summer? Like all this area is going to waste. So in the summer of 1978, I'm just gonna call him Eugene. We're gonna call him Eugene. Added 2 water slides and a go-kart track, and named the collection of rides Vernon Valley Summer Park. Action Park was formally opened on July 4th of that year, with 2 opening day promotions. So the first opening day promotion was a Dolly Parton lookalike contest, and the second one was a tobacco juice spitting contest.
Wait.
Yummy.
Wait. Tobacco juice
spitting contest.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, like, you would think it'd be like a kid audience rather than no. Oh, okay.
Mm-mm.
Well then.
No, we'll touch on that.
Okay.
This is not kid friendly.
So
no.
It's an adult park? Wink wink.
So no. Well,
wait, what? Continue your story. We'll get there.
Well.
Oh dear.
So the following year.
Hold on, let me buckle up real quick.
Oh yeah, buckle up. So the following year, more water slides and then a small deep water swimming pool, as well as tennis courts and a softball field, were added to Action Park. So it slowly starts building.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, combined, the park's 250 acres formed one of North America's earliest modern water parks. So like I said, water parks weren't really a thing, so this was like a new concept, and so people would literally travel to go to it.
Right.
It evolved into a major destination with 75 rides, 35 motorized, self-controlled rides, and 40 water slides. That's crazy. Okay.
What?
Yes. So,
Jesus.
imagine with me. Go on this adventure.
I don't know if I can. It's a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot. It got very large very quickly because, like, and we'll get to it. Eugene, the owner, he has a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but like in the good way, sort of. All right, so Action Park would eventually be split into 3 main attraction areas. So you had the Alpine Center, which is home of the Alpine Slide, Waterworld, which was filled with fantastical water slides,
40 of
and
them,
and Motorworld, that was the area for like go-karts and stuff. What is crazy? Okay, first crazy fact. I actually have fun facts in this sprinkled out. This is a bonus one. The park is actually split right down the middle by a major highway, Route 94.
How do they get to? Is there
There's
like
bridges?
Okay. Also, like, are these motorized rides? Are they like carnival rides, or are they like roller coaster rides?
Like go-karts.
Like
Think
go-karts,
of, like,
bumper stuff.
bumper carts.
Like,
that's really it. A lot of like one of the things was like it's kind of diesel fueled, like literally go to Motorworld and it's like all you smell is like this diesel stuff, and there was a lot of alcohol.
So what they
in the
just
premises.
they just had like 30 different go-kart rides, like.
Yes, basically. Fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
I found out while researching is that the owner, Gene, would actually design or tweak the designs that were provided to him for each of the rides. So he really liked to have his hands in developing the rides. And none of the ride designers ever had engineering degrees. So it was in the documentary, it was like the people who would get rejected by Disney, rejected by like all these big theme parks, would go to Gene and be like, he'd be like, yeah, I'll do it. And then he would take their designs and then mess with them. It made shit kind of not safe.
So
we'll
how many people died here?
We're getting there, Mom.
Jesus.
People died here. There were a lot of injuries, and we're gonna go into that too.
Like, okay.
I know. So, that being said, they were also designing the entire park on the fly. They literally would throw ideas at the wall and see what stuck. And it's like, so things would be misplaced. The only rhyme or reason they really stuck to were the 3 like main distinct areas, and that's it. Like if they saw something, they'd just make a ride there. Yeah, so watching the old commercials, they look so dangerous. Like it's insanely dangerous, but it was a thrill. And that's what drew people in. Like people knew that it was dangerous and people were getting hurt, and that's what brought people into the park. It was crazy. So going back to what you said, like, oh, this is a place for kids. No. So the park was actually supposedly ran by teenagers. So ideally, if you lived anywhere near this park, you would turn 14, get your work permit, and then go work at Action Park. And they claimed it was like a social experiment because the workers, they would haze new employees. They would have 14-year-olds running those water slides and like expect 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds to like save people. It was crazy. Like there would be adults out like at the park, but you would never see them because they were in their office or whatever. Like there were teenagers running the park that were like managing other teenagers because that's basically who were there.
That's irresponsible.
Right? Okay. So we're going to start breaking down the rides. The first ride we're going to talk about is Cannonball Loop. So
I don't like
first thing you
I don't like the sound. I don't like the name.
This is probably like where Action Park got its reputation. It's one of the first things you see when you walk into the park is Cannonball Loop.
Okay.
So, if you're not watching on YouTube, all you amazing listeners out there, I'm going to do my best to try to describe it. So basically, it's an enclosed tube water slide, where you'd climb to like the top of a series of stairs, and then you'd ride down an enclosed tube. It was black. So it doesn't sound like too crazy, right? Well, at the very end, the tube went into a complete vertical loop, like at the end of a roller coaster.
Yeah, so like imagine a 90-degree triangle, right? That sloped side is the angle that the slide's at. Like yeah, and there's a loop at the end of that looks scary.
That summarizes the entire park. So
that looks scary. That should be their motto.
So the story is that they built the loop and then they threw some test dummies down it, and the test dummies would come out dismembered, decapitated, or missing like half of their body.
So why is it there?
They decided to change some things. They adjusted the height, they adjusted the angle and the water pressure. So the next logical step would be, let's throw some humans down it.
No, throw the dummies again. Just
So Eugene, it was actually in the documentary and like all the research I found, he actually offered his employees $100 to go down the slide.
Okay, I'm sorry. If you want me to jump to my death, you are paying me more than $100.
Well, that equates today to approximately $252.
You are paying me more than $250 to risk my life.
They were teenagers, and some people did it.
What happened?
So, one employee explained his experience. I'm going to go into my acting.
He survived.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's okay.
I actually, fast forward, I don't think anybody died on this ride.
How?
But crazy shit did happen. Okay, so his experience, he said, and this is a quote. So you look down into the Cannonball Loop and all you see is black. It's pitch black. It's darkness. As soon as you kind of scoot forward, it just takes you. All of a sudden, you're going really, really, really fast. He said it's absolutely terrifying. And then all of a sudden, you feel your feet go up. And then as soon as you go up, you kind of lose contact with the loop for a second. And your body flops against the bottom of the loop. And so he said at the end, he was like, the loop was fun. And yes, it hurt. That was his quote. So after a few more test rides, they opened it for business. It gets so much worse.
Oh, does it?
One of the workers who ran the slide said that the first couple people who went down and came out, their mouths were like really bloody. But that was also before they had put sufficient padding at the top. So there was a little bit there, but obviously not enough. So they closed it. They added a little more padding and then sent a couple people, more people down.
Customers?
Now, when these people
paying customers? They're sending customers down?
But when these people came out, they had lacerations. And they like couldn't figure out where the lacerations were coming from in a giant loop. They were like, well, maybe it's the padding. So they took the loop apart again, and they found that there were human teeth stuck in the padding from the first couple of people.
No! No!
And they were cutting people. The slide was only open for a month.
Thank
in
God.
1985 before it was closed at the order of the state's advisory board on carnival amusement ride safety, which was extremely unusual move at the time. Like the rides usually never got shut down, but this one did.
You can put a loop in something without like it being attached. Like Like,
But how we started this before, Gene designed this, and they said that he came up with the idea from it, literally drawing things on a napkin at a restaurant. He drew a loop. He was like, oh yeah, I want to make that into a slide.
okay, so then like do a sideways loop. I know that's been done. That safely can be done. Like slides go in loops all the time. Why would you physics, gravity, like
And
any of
engineering.
it?
None of it. Another fun fact about this ride is that they had a former Navy officer review and give his opinion on the Cannonball Loop, and his quote was, "Let me put it to you this way. There are two places where you could experience 9Gs as a civilian. One is the backseat of a F-14, and the other one is at Action Park." That closes that. So next ride,
Thank God. Like,
is Cannonball Falls. So
why are we throwing the word cannonball in front of it of our
because you
rides?
cannonball at the end.
I'm in physical pain right now.
I was gonna say to our listeners, she looks very uncomfortable. And I'm only on ride number 2. I have like 20 rides. So, Cannonball Falls. To the passing customer, it looks like a pretty normal water slide, like when you're up at the top.
Mhm.
However, at the end, there's a pitch black tunnel that opens suddenly to a 10-foot drop into a 7-foot deep ice cold water pool. And people were constantly getting pulled out of there due to not being able to swim or just being super disoriented. There's another ride, I think it was the Tarzan swing, that was spring fed. And with that, the water would never warm. It was always very, very cold. So you imagine it being like a 90-degree day and then being dropped into freezing cold water. It can be very disorienting.
Mhm.
Also with this, it was a 17-foot deep pool. They actually ended up having to paint the bottom of the pool because people could just swim in this pool too. So imagine just swimming, floating around, trying to cool off, and then getting like a 200-pound person dropped on your head from a 10-foot drop.
Wait, like, okay.
So they had to paint the bottom of the pool so that you could see people under you. Because people were just dropping on each other, basically.
Okay. It's literally 2 giant industrial sized pipes sticking out of a mountain. Okay.
This is a very popular park, by the way. All right, Aqua Scoop. So essentially this ride was a bunch of warehouse rollers built on an angle like a ski jump. So you would ride a plastic sled down the rollers onto a flat pool and see how far you could skim across the water. However, to skim across this water, you have to be in a certain position, like leaned back, because if you were not in the right position and when you hit the water, the sled would sink as soon as it hit the pool and it would fling the rider off headfirst. This often resulted in a lot of head injuries. So like imagine like skipping stones, but you're using like
Humans.
Yes.
What is happening right now?
Wasn't your story so nice? And so the Tarzan swing. This attraction was actually one of the like known test your metal, like where you would go to prove that you were the bravest.
I'm not.
No, right?
Not going.
No. So it's a 20-foot long cable that you would swing out over again, spring fed. So this is the other spring fed pool. And then you would drop into it. The main issue actually was that people didn't realize that they couldn't hold their own weight. And the pool wasn't directly under the landing. So there was like a 10-foot area. It was cushioned.
By
Cushions. It was like a padding. There was a padding put between the 10-foot gap from the thing, so you had to hold yourself up.
You're not describing the padding though, was it?
It wasn't safe. It wasn't
Okay.
safe. So what they ended up doing is extending the landing to where it would be directly over the pool. So
Why wasn't that done in the first place?
Again, throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what stuck. They didn't really think anything through. They were just like, let's just like throw a 20-foot long cable over a spring-fed pool and just see what happens. Not only was that an issue that people didn't realize they couldn't hold themselves, but the spring-fed pool, as we mentioned before, was freezing. So cold that lifeguards would have to rescue people who were so surprised by the sudden chill that they couldn't swim. They forgot how to swim out of the pool. Like, I don't want to over exaggerate, but they said it was that cold. People would get so disoriented they wouldn't know like what to do. So in 1984, one man did die of a heart attack, and it was after experiencing this swing. Some people say he has pre-existing conditions, but they do count that as a death. So that is technically our first death. He died from a heart attack.
I thought you said no one died.
I didn't say that. I never said. I said no one died from the Cannonball Loop. Oh, people died here.
Okay.
Roaring Rapids. Everyone loves a good water rapids ride.
Okay, yeah, sure.
This is a standard raft-based water ride. Well, standard. So imagine a water rafting ride that is very much not maintained. Some injuries were reported to the state in 1984. 1 year. Noted fractured femurs, collarbones, noses, and dislocated knees and shoulders.
How? Where? What?
So, the walls were not, the ride was not well designed. I don't know if you've gotten this memo yet. Rafts would actually back up in certain spots, and then the raft would go over another raft, which would bump into people. If it didn't go over the raft, it would slam into one that would cause people to hit the sides of the walls. At one point, again, this is from the documentary, so I want to believe it, but also I kind of take everything with a grain of salt because I know they want to make it seem, I mean, obviously it's bad, but one of the stories from the documentary was that a nut was exposed at one point, like its covering fell off, and a rider hit it and it tore like a gash in his stomach that was like had to be like sewed together. It
so like
exposed
were
a lot of
these
stuff.
rafts not like how they are today where they have like the big backings on them?
No, it is a raft. Actually, Eugene wanted people to experience what really rafting was. So when he first built this, he had it like what is it? It's like a level 5 or level 4 for rafting. There's another terminology for it.
Classification. Okay.
Yeah, so like a class 4 or 5 rafting. He wanted people to feel like they were going down like real rapids and how scary it would be. Well, that didn't go over well.
You know, people die doing that in the nature.
That's what people said. So he then toned it back a little bit.
A little? How much is a little? Like a centimeter?
Well, that resulted in people, fracturing their femurs. That was him toning it down. So, moving on. So, the Aerodium, I'm probably really pronouncing that right. Aerodium, I think is what it's called, is a skydiving simulator wind tunnel that was actually invented in Germany in 1984. In 1987, Action Park wanted its own. So they built and opened its own in the Waterworld section of the park, becoming the first American amusement park to have an Aerodium.
I don't think that's a good idea. I just have a inkling that it wasn't a good idea.
Riders wearing a special skydiving suit, helmet, and earplugs would join the body flight instructor one by one on a trampoline-like netting directly over a fan. The instructor would then grab the rider's wrists and guide the rider to fall forward, allowing the fan to lift the rider skyward. After a few seconds of flight, the attendant operating the fan would then cut the power, causing the rider to fall onto the air cushions surrounding the fan. Part guest flights were limited to a maximum of 6 or 7 feet above the ground, which was approximately 1 to 2 feet over the instructors' heads. This ride caused severe injuries.
Oh, really?
Didn't
see that coming.
For example, when a rider would instinctively try to break his fall after, being in the air for however long, 7 feet up, they would try to instinctively break your fall by extending your arm, which caused, in this case, shoulder dislocation, severed nerves, and near permanent paralysis of his arm.
From like landing on the cushions?
Well, you think about it. So dropping 7 feet, because what they would do is they would have you like, horizontal to the ground, flying, whee, and then cut the power.
Okay, so like you go to like a skydiving place now, and all they do is they gently grab you back and like pull you back down while the fan is still on. I don't understand why they couldn't do that and just let them fall 7 feet. That's so dumb.
What's the fun in that? Yes. Yeah, they didn't really use their best judgment. Maybe they did, and it just wasn't good enough. I don't know. Anyways, we're at a water world.
So why was
Listen.
Okay, hold on. Why was a skydiving ride in Waterworld?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. They just had nowhere else to put it. Let's put it here.
They really don't plan things out very well. I don't know if you've noticed that or not.
Why not?
We're gonna go to Motorworld now.
Oh, this is gonna be.
Yeah. So Motorworld consisted of rides based around powered vehicles and boats. Some of the most popular ones were these super go-karts. This ride allowed guests to drive around a small loop track at the speed of 20 miles per hour. And this was controlled by a governor device that was on the carts. However, park employees knew how to override the governors by wedging tennis balls into them, and would do that for certain guests. As a result, they would turn the go-karts into bumper carts at 50 miles per hour, and many injuries resulted from head-on collisions. There was also at one point, because there were tracks. There weren't like boundaries on the tracks, so there was nothing keeping the go-kart. So some guests would literally just drive off the track and go like off the tracks on their 50 mile per hour
off-roading.
I think one of the employees said that they actually got on Route 94 and were like driving on the interstate.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, so another one, kind of cool concept, not gonna lie, is a battle action tank, and that was this ride. So it was actually one of the most popular rides in Motorworld. It was featured prominently in television ads. So for an additional fee, now you had to pay extra for this, guests could enter a chain-linked fenced enclosed area and operate small tanks for 5 minutes at a time. Okay. So they are equipped with tennis ball cannons that enabled riders to shoot at a sensor prominently mounted on each tank. So if hit, the tank would stop operating for 15 seconds, while other guests often took advantage of the delay to hit the disabled tank with more fire. So visitors on the outside could utilize less costly cannons mounted on the perimeter fence to also shoot the tanks. So like imagine like the water guns, like on the, you know what I mean, like on the side of the water rides where you could shoot people. Yeah, one of those.
I mean, honestly, I think this is the first one that I'm like, oh, this is a cool idea, but like, how the people got hurt? I'm assuming, otherwise we wouldn't be here.
When workers had to enter the cage to attend to a stuck or crashed tank, which often happened several times a day, they would commonly be pelted with tennis balls, despite despite being told not to. They're not gonna listen.
No.
But this gave the ride the reputation for being the most dangerous for the employees.
Oh, okay.
So it was one of the least popular places to work. Because, yeah.
Makes sense.
Moving on. Right. So that kind of summarizes Motorworld. You know, there were like bumper cars. There was also this like these motorized boats that kind of like, imagine how nowadays we have the bumper boats with like something like that, but a little more like speedy. Like I think they were actually called speedboats. But they were in this like lake swamp area, and they were known for like attracting snakes. That's the vibe Motorworld gave. Like,
snakes and tennis balls and crashing.
So now we're on to Alpine Center. The main attraction in Alpine Center was the Alpine Slide. So what they did was in the summertime, they would still utilize the ski lift, hang the little sleds on the side of the ski lift, and then ride it up and then ride the slide down. So it was a 2,700 foot long Alpine slide that went down the mountain beneath one of the skis area's chairlifts. And so they would ride the chairlift up and then slide down. Riders would sit on the small sled that only had a brake or accelerator control stick, and it rode down the slide in long chutes that were built into the slope. The ride, and more specifically the sled, became notorious for causing injuries. The tendency of guests to ride in bathing suits would make it much worse. Imagine you're going to this water park and you decide to go do this, and you're riding in a bathing suit, so you're not going to like this story.
No.
This slide, and I think I said the heart attack was the first death, and I was mistaken. This slide was the site of the first fatality at the park in 1980. 19-year-old George Larson Jr., who had previously been a ski lift operator at Vernon Valley, was thrown from the slide when his car jumped the track and his head hit a rock. After several days in a coma, he did pass away. What's sketchy is Action Park said that Larson was an employee, and it was nighttime, and it had also been raining when the accident happened. And they said because he was an employee that his death did not need to be reported to the state regulators.
I mean, but it does, though. I feel like whether you're an employee or not, all deaths should be reported.
So we'll get into that later.
Oh, okay.
So in the documentary, again, it's a class action park, and Larson's mother and brother said that was extremely incorrect, and they accused the park management of using the story of Larson being an employee previously to get out of, obviously, reporting the death. They added hay bales to the curves to cushion the impact of the guests whose sled jumped the track now, which was a frequent occurrence.
So take
that was it
down.
Oh no. While park officials regularly asserted to its safety, the slide was responsible for the bulk of accidents, injuries, lawsuits, and state citations for safety violations in the early years of the park. According to the state records, in 1984 and 1985, the Alpine slide itself produced 14 fractures and 26 head injuries. And I want to make it very clear, because we're going to circle back to this in a little bit. According to state records, It's a very important part of that sentence.
Okay.
So, before we get to our fun facts of Action Park, we're gonna talk about Bailey Ball.
What?
Bailey Ball. So this ride was actually never open to the public. Thank God.
Oh God.
The idea that they had was that you have a large foam sphere in which the rider would be secured in the sphere and then rolled down a hill on a track made of PVC pipe. So they built a test track and got a test subject to try out while the state inspector was present. What the designers neglected to take into account was that PVC pipe expands on a hot day. And this was the middle of the summer. So, during its test run, listeners, Nikki looks so confused and concerned all at once.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What is it? PVC pipe?
Mm-hmm.
Is like plumbing pipes, correct?
Yeah. Have you ever made like a potato gun?
No.
You see a potato gun?
I think I've seen one.
But yeah, it's like plumbing pipes.
How do you make a track out of that?
Well, you put it so you get the sphere that's like this big and the PVC pipes that are like this big. You build it high enough to where it's not gonna, roll out.
So
just makes sense.
You just
Peter.
got fucking 2 lines of plumbing pipes going down a mountain.
I think there were 4. I think there were 2 on the bottom and 2 on the sides. So during its first test run, as the ball was traveling down the track, one of the pipes expanded, causing the ball and its human passenger to roll right off the track. Down an adjacent ski slope, through the parking lot.
Oh dear.
Across Route 94.
Oh no.
Finally coming to rest in the swamp that was across the interstate. After it came to its natural stop at the bottom, the inspector left without saying anything, and park management abandoned the project.
Is the person okay? I don't care about the sign anymore. Is the person okay?
He survived. I don't think he had any injuries.
Oh my God.
He didn't get hit by any cars. I don't know how.
Oh.
Are you ready for some fun facts?
Am I ready? I don't know.
We're going to talk about a common phrase or a common thing written was CFS. And CFS stood for can't fucking swim. To explain, security guards, lifeguards would all carry Sharpies. Action Park would give wristbands out, and they would write CFS on the wristband.
Okay,
so you thought they were gonna write it on
the
them,
person, just like on your shoulder.
That's what Tim thought. That's what Tim thought. Across their forehead, like. No, they did it on the wristbands, but still. If someone had CFS on their wristband, it probably meant they had already gotten saved that day.
Jesus Christ.
And it was a warning to other people so they wouldn't allow them to jump off the 20-foot cliff into a deep pool, which was another ride, by the way. You're just cliff diving.
That's not
didn't hit that one.
Ride.
Oh, it was. I mean, it was a thing that people did. And Action Park's most successful years were in the early to mid 1980s. Most rides were still operating, and the park's dangerous reputation hadn't really spread yet. In 1982, 2 guests died at the park within a week of each other, leading to the permanent closure of one ride.
Which one?
We'll get there.
Oh my God, you're killing me slowly and painfully. Oh my God.
However, people continued to come in massive numbers after that. The park's fortunes began to turn when 2 more deaths in the summer of 1984 occurred, and the legal and financial problems that stemmed from the ensuing lawsuit started to take place. Fun fact number 2.
Wait, what? That was on the first fun fact?
Yes.
Jesus Christ. I can't.
Oh, you're going to love this one.
Oh, am I?
Eugene, I mean, you think about it. You need insurance to run a park,
Of course.
right? But what insurance in their right mind would ever cover Action Park? No one would. So Gene just made one up. And thus the London and World Assurance Ltd was formed.
I'm sorry. What was it called?
London and World Assurance.
London and World Assurance.
He made up an insurance company, forged the documents.
No comment.
However, the state obviously investigated this, which did result in a 3-day hearing and a 110 count indictment. At the end, Eugene ended up pleading guilty to a count of fraud, theft, and conspiracy. But this didn't stop the growth or the popularity of the park right away. Attendance remained high, and the park remained profitable, at least on paper. Action Park entertained over 1 million visitors per year during the 1980s, with as many as 12,000 people coming on the busiest weekends. The director of the emergency room at the nearby hospital said they treated 5 to 10 victims of the park accidents on some of the busiest days. And the park eventually ended up buying the local township an extra ambulance to keep up with their volume.
How did we get here? Like, sorry, I'm causing lots of injuries, causing you guys to work more. So here, forgive me, and here's an ambulance. It's okay. Just turn around. Take the ambulance. Pay no mind to the numerous injuries that we get across every day. Just don't worry about it.
So we're actually going to talk about these injuries. Remember how circling back, how I said that it was really important that I said, like, according to state reported injuries? So the park was actually only required to report serious injuries, which was left up to the judgment called by Gene.
Let me guess. Teeth causing lacerations on guests is not considered serious.
His rule of thumb was that unless you were leaving the park in an ambulance, it was almost certainly not going to be reported. And so again, I caught it because I have a lot of information here. One of the things was, like, they had when you would get injured, they had like a help desk or a help area, a first aid station, if you will, where they would mix iodine and like that. It was something. It would sting really bad, maybe. And so what they would do is they would spray you down with it, and they literally drew a circle of chalk, and if you could stay in the circle when they sprayed you down, you would get like a prize because it stung so bad. And then you would walk through the park and see people who were, because iodine stains you, so you would see people who were like marked with iodine from their injuries. Like, this is a common thing. But yeah. Anyway, so the park was summed up in the documentary on HBO as a chaos summer park with very little oversight, too much alcohol, whistles blowing, people screaming, and motors running. All in total, at least 6 people are known to have died as a result of mishaps on rides at the park. And this led the park to earn the nicknames as Attraction Park, Accident Park, Class Action Park, or Friction Park. One of the quotes from the documentary I really just summed up everything was like, her quote was, "It's a place where death was tolerated, where death was just put right into the number situation." Like, it wasn't a big deal. So we're going to go into the people who passed away.
Okay.
So on July 8th, 1980, 19-year-old George Larson Jr. was riding the Alpine slide when his car jumped the track and his head struck the rock. Actually, one of the biggest rides that took lives was the tidal wave pool, surprisingly, because the tidal wave pool was not monitored as well as it should have. and the waves were just too much and people would drown. Speaking of, July 24th, 1982, George Lopez, a 15-year-old boy, drowned at the tidal wave pool. August 1st, 1982, a 27-year-old man from Long Island got out of his tipped kayak on the Kayak Experience to ride it. While doing so, he actually stepped on a grate that was either in contact with or came too close to a section of live wiring for the underwater fans that somehow had become exposed. So he suffered severe electric shock, which then sent him to cardiac arrest. Several other members of his family were nearby and also injured because it shocked. So the park at first disputed that the electric current caused his death, saying there were no burns on his body, but the coroner responded that burns generally do not occur in water-based electrocution. The ride was drained and closed for investigation. Accounts differ as to what the extent of the exposed wiring was, but I think that was the ride that ended up getting canceled. In 1984, date was unknown. Again, this is the fatal heart attack that was suffered by a visitor, unofficially believed to have been triggered by the shock of the cold water in the pool beneath the Tarzan swing. The swimming area was typically between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 to 16 degrees Celsius, while other water areas in the park were typically around 70 to 80. And the Tarzan swing and Cannonball ride were operated by the same spring water, so that's why they were both like known to disorient people. In July 27th, 1984, Donald DePass, a 20-year-old boy from Brooklyn, drowned in the tidal wave pool. And July 19th, 1987, 18-year-old Gregory Grandchamps drowned in the tidal wave pool. The park finally ended up closing due to a lack of financial backing in the summer of 1997. The park was bought and sold for a while. It was purchased by IntraWest in 1998. The company began a massive overhaul, which included revamping some of the rides, removing attractions that either deemed it outright or unsafe in the Motorworld section. However, most of the park, including the two other sections, are still abandoned to this day. And the last fun fact, Donald Trump was actually considering investing in this park, but actually, and it stopped by to see what the park was about, but ended up saying no. Trump found Gene's vision was too unhinged, even for him. And that is the story of Action Park.
So the water park is still active today? Some of it?
Yeah, so some of it. Obviously, like the loop's gone. And so that section got purchased and it's actually still open today. But it doesn't have like any of the I don't think any of the rides I mentioned today are still open.
Jeez. That was a ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if anybody's interested, it's called Mountain Creek Water Park. Which Tim has actually, my husband's been there.
Glad you came back to us alive, Tim.
Well, like I said, it is a lot safer nowadays than it was then, but like it's just insane to me. Yeah, that's the end of my story. Hope you guys enjoyed it. That's it for this episode. Guys, if you enjoy the podcast, please don't forget to follow and leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, hi, hello. Like and subscribe if you can. We love seeing new subscribers, and comment on the posts. Let us know what you think and what if you have any topics you want us to cover, because no, I'm always looking for like things to talk about. Mm-hmm. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our username is @TTAT Podcast. Thanks for listening. And next week we're going to be covering cults. I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun one. Fun.
That's what
fun
you
one?
call it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's not. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
And with that, we're gonna leave you with this.
All right. So for today's inspiration, I picked out an oldie, but one of my favorites. And it's life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. by Vivian Green. It's one of my all-time favorite quotes. I love it.
Oh my god, I love that. Have a great week, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.